Hello everyone and welcome to Don't Be Bored. Today I'm joined by Sam, the designer of High Noon Heist. This is a two-player game set in a Wild West town. So welcome Sam, please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about the game.
Hi, my name's Sam and I'm the designer and publisher of this little card game, High Noon Heist, a game that I've been working on now for about a year. It's a two-player game with one player taking on the role of the outlaws and the other the law. It plays in about 15 minutes with both players trying to secure as much loot as they can across 15 different heist locations. Both players secretly select a character from their hand, with each character having its own unique abilities which can often sway the outcome of the heist. Each heist also has its own effect, such as a poker den, the casino or a jailbreak, which lets you know what your opponent might play so that you can get into their head and make sure that you play a card that will thwart their plans so that you're the team that can secure the most loot when the game's done.
It does sound pretty awesome and I really like the Wild West theme. Has the game always had that, sort of from the very beginning of the design process?
High Noon Heist actually started out its life as an entry into a button shy 18 card design contest, and it didn't have a theme at that point, but players were still competing over a central pile of resources, so the Wild West theme came naturally from that, with two sides both trying to secure this central pile. And then once I had the Wild West theme, that central pile became a stack of heist locations that you might find in a Wild West town, like the bank, the train station, or a shootout. And that really gave a lot of flavour to the different heist effects that you find there, because you bluff at the poker den and you can push your luck at the casino. And then it meant the characters could form two different sides with the law and the outlaw, giving them nice asymmetrical abilities. So it was a case of starting out without a theme, but then once I had the theme, that really fed into the mechanics, and that was really how it was designed.
Nice that you've used theme to drive mechanics. I really think that helps when you're sort of teaching games, things that sort of make logical sense. So that's really cool. What would you say your favourite element of the game is?
My favourite element of the game is definitely when you successfully manage to predict what character your opponent was going to play and you thwart them. There's a lot of cases where the stronger characters can actually be beaten by the other weaker characters, like the large, strong brawler beaten by the bounty hunter, even though the bounty hunter's a lot lower strength. So it's really a game about working out what your opponent's going to play, because you can see what cards they've already played, and the heist effects themselves also give you a hint at what your opponent might play, such as the bank rewarding the stronger outlaws, or the jailbreak. If you decide to play your no-show card, you can actually save one of your characters who's been sent to jail. But as you both know that, does that mean that you won't do that? So the feeling you get when you successfully work out what your opponent's played is really good, and it really is where a lot of the fun came from, so I'm quite proud of that.
Balancing the game with weaker and strong characters must have taken a little bit of time. Did you have to tweak much during the actual playtesting time to keep to like the 10 to 15 minute range?
I really wanted the game to have a nice short playtime, as it's a small compact game that you can take on the train or a plane with you when you're travelling and play it on a small tray table. It really suited a shorter play style. Initially, players actually drafted the characters from a pool of 13, with both sharing all the same characters. But through playtesting I realised the fun of the game was actually playing and revealing your cards, trying to work out what your opponent might play, and the drafting phases really got in the way of that, and they added about double the time on. So after I cut that out, I still had the core part of the game, but it went down from playing in about 30 minutes down to 10 to 15 minutes, which was really good, and I didn't think you lost too much from the game. Other than that, it was working out how many different heist locations I wanted to put in the game, and I had a range of 10 to 20, but ended up settling on 15, which really gives you a good variety throughout the game, but it doesn't overstay its welcome, and it still lets players catch up if they've had a bad start to the game.
The game's going to be coming to Kickstarter soon. What in this sort of pre-crowdfunding phase have you learnt that maybe others, sort of budding designers, could learn from?
In the process of designing the game, I've learnt so much. I would say on the playtesting front, although nice feedback is great and it can help you learn what's fun about your game, criticism is always more important, because you want to find out what players don't like, and then from that, not taking it too personally and not being too attached to the part of the games that get criticism, because often the best way I found to solve the problem is just to get rid of that part of the game entirely, rather than adding additional complexity to a game, trying to solve problems. The simplest thing you can do is often remove it, which is what I found with the drafting portion, which I removed. Often different combinations of cards you got were too powerful, which meant abilities got complicated to try and counteract that. But by removing the drafting and having 2 separate teams, that meant it was all much smoother. So be open to criticism and don't be too attached to those parts of the game that get it. And on the Kickstarter part, which I'm still learning because this is my first one, but I would say get the landing page up as early as you possibly can to try and get as many people interested and signing up there, and then getting copies of your game out as early as possible to reviewers and previewers and people who are interested, who will talk about your game, because that's the key to getting the backers in the end. One thing I'm glad I did do was start very small with a small card game that I can have manufactured locally here in the UK, which saves a lot of the initial complexity of freight shipping and overseas manufacturing by doing it close. It's easy communication with my manufacturer, just making it all simple and all small for the first time around, and if it's successful I can branch out from there.
That's a great tip that I'm sure some designers will really want to hold on to every part of their design, but still a good tip for sort of progressing through that design phase. You mentioned Kickstarter there. When will High Noon Heist be coming to Kickstarter, and where can people go to find out more about the game?
So High Noon Heist will be coming to Kickstarter on March the 19th for £10, and it will be running for 3 weeks then. You can find out more about the game on tablefor2games.co.uk, my website, and I've got an Instagram page with some more photos sharing that same name, which you can have a look at. And for those of you who'd like to try it, there's a digital version available on screentop.gg is the name of the website, and there's also a tabletop simulator version as well. So lots of places you can try it out first, with the rulebook available online too.
Links will be in the description box down below, so you don't need to go and sort of find them. You can go and click the links and discover yourself. But before you all go, let's have a fun one for Sam. What game has the best meeple in it?
So my favourite meeple comes from one of our favourite two-player games, Odin's Ravens, where you get these 2 chunky wooden meeples in 2 different colours, which you use to race around the board. They're quite thematic, and they just feel really nice to pick up and move around, especially when you manage to race them really fast against your opponent and zoom past them. So yeah, these are my favourite.
That's a pretty cool choice, a game I've not played. Thank you very much, Sam, for joining me, answering the questions and giving us a bit of an insight behind the design process and a bit about the game of High Noon Heist. Again, the links will be in the description box down below that were mentioned earlier, and until next time, thanks for watching.